Agency, has spoken out, saying that NIST has been fully hijacked from the scientific into the political realm. Scientists working for NIST, he said, lost their scientific independence and became little more than hired guns. Everything that came from the hired guns was, he added, routinely filtered through the front office of the Commerce Department and assessed for political implications before release. Moreover, he said, NIST's reports on the World Trade Center also had to be approved by the National Security Agency and the Office of Management and Budget, an arm of the Executive Office of the President, which had a policy person specifically delegated to provide oversight on our work. In other words, NIST could publish nothing that had not been approved by all three of those agencies. As a result, NIST reports, which say that the Twin Towers and Building 7 came down without the aid of explosives, are political, not scientific reports, as any serious examination of these reports will reveal. The authors, with their PhDs in physics and engineering, could not possibly believe the things they have written. If reasons to take a second look at 9/11 are provided by new information about the Bush-Cheney administration and the official reports supporting its conspiracy theory, the same is true of the new shape of the 9/11 Truth movement. At one time, it was dismissed as a bunch of kids on the internet. Then, after I joined the movement by writing The New Pearl Harbor, it was dismissed as a bunch of kids on the internet plus an aging theologian. George Monbiot, writing in The Guardian, referred to members of the movement as morons and idiots. Alexander Cockburn, writing in Counterpunch, The Nation, and Le Monde Diplomatique, referred to the movement's members as the 9/11 conspiracy nuts, saying that they know nothing about the real world, especially the world of military affairs. Lacking any conception of evidence, he added, they represent the ascendancy of magic over common sense and reason. Insofar as critics of the movement, ignoring the fact that its early leaders included a pilot, a former police officer, a world-class political economist, and a historian, could portray me as its head. Monbiot referred to me as its high priest. Another left-wing critic called me its guru. As one critic put it, Griffin, being a theologian, is not qualified to talk about anything except myths and fairy tales. I did reply, therefore, that I should be eminently qualified to discuss the official conspiracy theory. Nevertheless, the 9/11 Truth movement can be easily dismissed insofar as people retain an image of it that was formed several years ago, when it could be portrayed as led by people who have no expertise in the relevant fields. Even if that caricature, like most caricatures, contained a grain of truth then, it is now completely false. The intellectual leadership of the 9/11 Truth movement is now exercised by scientists and other professionals who definitely know something about the real world. Many of these professionals have formed organizations dedicated to discovering and publicizing the truth about 9/11. A few years ago, some scientists formed SPINE, the Scientific Panel for the Investigation of 9/11. Other scientists, more recently, formed Scholars for 9/11 Truth and Justice, the main work of which has been carried out by physicists and chemists. Shortly thereafter, detractors of the movement said that if there were any validity to these scientists' claims about the World Trade Center, they would be able to get papers published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. During the past year, scientists affiliated with Scholars for 9/11 Truth and Justice have published 3 papers in peer-reviewed scientific journals. The first author of the most recent of these papers, which appeared in the Open Chemical Physics Journal, is Niels Harrit, a chemistry professor at the University of Copenhagen. These scientists, who know something about the chemical constituents of the real world, report finding many elements in the World Trade Center dust that should not be there if the official theory, according to which nothing but fire and gravity brought the buildings down, were true. A few years ago, after some physicists and chemists had joined the movement, detractors said, they don't really count. The question of what brought down the World Trade Center is a question for engineers, and your movement doesn't have any. That was true in 2005. But the following year, architect Richard Gage formed Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And by now, over 650 licensed architects and engineers have signed a petition saying that the official theory cannot be true and we need a new investigation. These are people who know about that part of the real world constituted by steel frame high-rise buildings. And they know that the official story, according to which fires caused the Twin Towers and Building 7 to come straight down in virtual free fall, cannot be true. For example, Jack Keller, emeritus professor of engineering at Utah State University, who had been given special recognition some years back by Scientific American, has said that about the collapse of Building 7, obviously it was the result of controlled demolition. Obviously. The same judgment has been offered by 2 emeritus professors of structural engineering at Zurich's prestigious Federal Institute of Technology, along with hundreds of other architects and engineers. Firefighters also have expert knowledge that is relevant to what happened in New York City on 9/11. And this past year brought the formation of Firefighters for 9/11 Truth, who point out on the basis of their professional expertise why the NIST reports about the World Trade Center should not be believed. There is also an organization of veterans for 9/11 Truth with several former military officers. They probably, I would venture to say, know more about the real world of military affairs than does Alexander Coburn. And they reject the official story. Another professional organization with relevant expertise is Pilots for 9/11 Truth, which includes in its ranks many former commercial and military pilots who call incredible, impossible, the official story about why the 9/11 airliners were not intercepted. This organization has also devoted much attention to the Pentagon attack, pointing out many reasons why the official account of that attack cannot be true. They have said similar things about the crash or the alleged crash of Flight 93.